Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 17 of Syncing with ServiceNow. I'm your host, Andy Whiteside. I've got Fred Reynolds, our director of our Modern Apps practice. Fred is working remote today, and we made him turn his video off because, well, bandwidth still matters. Fred, how's it going?
It's going great. How are you too?
We're doing well. Are you settled back in from your trip last week? Uh-oh, he's going to fall in the black hole, Kristen.
Uh-oh.
I have to kick him out of this thing. Kristen, I know you were with us last week in Las Vegas. Are you settled back in? I know you didn't have as far to go these days.
Yes, I am. It was a nice short plane ride this time on the West Coast, but yeah, settled back in, back to work.
I didn't think about it till just now, but that probably explains why you were so chipper all week. You didn't have the jet lag first that I had.
Yes, and no time zone change, which was nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like being at home for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Fred may be switching over to his bandwidth or his phone or something. So we'll leave him alone for a few minutes, see if he pops in like Beetlejuice in a few minutes. Well, Kristen, you and Fred brought forth this ServiceNow blog about knowledge from last week. I tell you, I was really impressed with how big it was, first of all. Man, I know the ServiceNow space and all the workflows is huge. That was by far the biggest keynote room I'd ever been in. How many knowledges have you been to?
It's either 5 or 6 at this point, and it grows tremendously every single year. So it's really quite something to see. Yeah.
Did it feel twice as big as the last one or a third as big? How would you ballpark the difference?
Oh, that's a good point. I'd say probably 1 1/3 times the last one, something about like that. The last one was
so
also
1 1/3, so 133% bigger.
Something like that, or 133 times, or gosh, I can't do percentages. Maybe I'm not quite back yet.
Yeah. So it was 30% bigger or
30% bigger. Thank you.
30% bigger. Okay, yeah. And but I guess that means you just went to the one last year.
Yes. Well, this is the first time they're back after the pandemic fully in force. So it was quite a sight to see. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess last year was just kind of they did a couple road shows, like 2 big road shows, but not one big one.
Yep, exactly.
I think the last full conference was 2019 is what it said.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. Well, the blog from the day is Knowledge 2023 Keynote Recap, Putting Yes to Work. This is by Laura LeBlue. They like the word yes at ServiceNow, but to be honest, across all the platforms and technologies that we work with, the ability to say yes, it's there. I mean, there's literally, it's really limitless as to what you can do with this platform.
Absolutely. It's super configurable. And even though there's a lot of out-of-box applications and applications that ServiceNow has built, it is at its core a platform that you can build on and customize to meet your needs. So, yeah. Well,
here's the very first thing, talks about the 2019 since the last one. And so 2019 all the way to 2023 and 15,000 people. And they really were. It says here, enthusiastic among attendees was contagious. Enthusiasm was contagious. It really was. The amount of people there, they were just so pro about just being together, and the ServiceNow platform was contagious.
Yeah, absolutely. I think everybody was also very happy to come back and be together again and be in that atmosphere. For somebody who works with ServiceNow day in, day out, Knowledge is an exciting conference. Yep.
Well, let's try to loop Fred back in here real quick, and then we'll come back to the end and maybe we'll talk through other takeaways that you had. But they've got some listed in this blog. The first one was the ServiceNow.org announcement, and it's how ServiceNow wants to give back and invest in nonprofits so nonprofits can go accomplish their missions. Vanessa Smith was the director of that and led it. They had a specific group from welcome.us. Fred, I know when we first started talking about this a few minutes ago, you were very high on this piece of the conference. You want to give us a little bit of exposure as to what they talked about?
Yeah, I just really hope that my voice comes through clear here. So the neat thing is, when I first got to Knowledge, I was really excited to be there, got on the elevator, and I met Vanessa as one of the first people I met at the conference. So we just kind of got to chatting. You know, she looked dressed up. I was like, "You're here for the conference," and got to know each other just for a brief moment and understood that she was there to, I guess, be more the executive vice president over ServiceNow.org. So I explained to her that as part of XenTegra, we also have a nonprofit part of our business, Computers for Community, explained to her a little bit about that. And so it was really neat just to kind of start the conference off talking with something that's being launched new in ServiceNow.org to help nonprofits. So I think the need that she did so good in the keynote, saying that there's so much need for people to get work done and work on the processes, doing the processes instead of trying to figure those out, that a lot of people need ServiceNow to help them automate a lot of the processes and keep the minutia away from the day-to-day mundane work. And so I think she did a good job of saying how ServiceNow can help the nonprofits do that.
Yeah, I think it really highlights that all companies have needs for improved workflows, and nonprofits just as much, and maybe even more. And, you know, we as XenTegra had started this Computers for Community nonprofit to serve other nonprofits, and we are already starting to talk ServiceNow and platforms to these nonprofits we work with. And just so happens that ServiceNow has, you know, good timing for us, is starting to have those same conversations and lead them.
Absolutely. I think it's good that they're going to come alongside and also, you know, in good spirit of helping nonprofits, you know, have a different price point for nonprofits, help them as well to find the right partners that can help them themselves, help them to understand how to do some configuration, and help these nonprofits truly be able to spend time on what matters, than trying to figure out manual tasks within their nonprofit organizations.
So Kristen, any specific takeaway from you on this part of the announcement and what it means for ServiceNow partners, and potentially their nonprofits?
I just think it's an exciting announcement. We've worked with enterprise customers and small to mid-sized businesses for so long. It's really exciting to see ServiceNow focus on this nonprofit space, because as you mentioned, every organization needs automation and streamlining and efficiency and modern tool sets. And it's great to see this focus come out. Yeah.
It goes back to my message that organizations of all sizes need enterprise IT. That includes nonprofit.
Absolutely.
Did they give us any indication of what that discounted pricing might look like?
Not yet, but I'm sure we're going to find out very soon as we work with a couple of companies we're working with. So we'll figure that out soon.
Yeah. Okay, Kristen, the next one they talked about, which is kind of important for your son who was with us, and you know, my son is getting involved in ServiceNow work, and that was the Rise Up with ServiceNow in the Spotlights, the title of this section. I guess I'll set you up by saying why is this important for ServiceNow to be investing in this Rise Up program?
Sure. So the Rise Up, just to give a bit of background as to what this is, the Rise Up program is ServiceNow's initiative to train up 1 million new ServiceNow administrators within the next few years. And they're really trying to train up a user base to come on and be able to build applications, to configure, to customize the platform, and be able to support the platform for their organizations. So the Rise Up initiative in particular is quite important to me. As Andy mentioned, my son is coming up as a ServiceNow developer. He's studying computer science at the moment. And Andy's son, Luke, is also joining us as a junior ServiceNow developer. And the Rise Up initiative really has 3 different focus points. So they're working with colleges to train up and coming talent within colleges so that when they graduate, they're ready to start on the ServiceNow platform. There won't be additional training or learning required. They are ready to hit the ground running at that point. They also have 2 other facets to the Rise Up program. One of them has to do with minority and underprivileged communities, and that is called their Next Gen program. And they're really giving a focus to building up individuals within that community so that they can join the workforce on the ServiceNow platform. And finally, they are working with partners to train up individuals. And as a partner, that's incredibly important for us to participate in this Rise Up program and look to bring up the next generation of ServiceNow developers and architects. Yeah.
Yeah, Kristen, as you're talking through that, I'm thinking about, you know, schools in my area, Fred's area, your area, that we could go and approach about taking advantage of this. I don't know that they would know right out off the top how invaluable this could be, but I think with a little bit of coaxing, it probably could be explained to them. Definitely want to maybe tackle that a little bit.
So I also want to hit on the fact that, you know, the need for the Rise Up program also contributes to the last time there was a knowledge in 2019. It did say that, I mean, the company's doubled in size since the last time they really got together. I mean, it doubled in size, it doubled in products. I mean, the pace at which they're doing the innovation on this platform and the rate of adoption from companies is showing there's a lack of resources to get all the work actually done.
Yeah.
So they need to really train up a lot within ServiceNow to have expertise in each of the different 140 some products they have. And then they also need to have more experienced, higher level solution architects to help. And they're going to have to rely on their partners to bring a lot more skilled resources with that. It makes me very excited, Andy, when I think about what they're doing with Rise Up, what we're doing at XenTegra, building out our practice and having more resources. And the fact that our solution architects, has been with ServiceNow from the beginning, and then I meet new people coming to ServiceNow that say I've been here for 2 months, 2 years. I don't care if they say 7 years. It kind of makes me proud to know that at XenTegra we've got staff members that are 10 plus years, 12 plus years and working on the platform. So expertise really matters and experience matters.
I think this is really important because let's say they build the greatest machine or platform ever without people to help drive it, both to explain it as well as to implement it and support it. It's only going to go so far. I think they are recognizing that the people factor might be their limitation.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
They're there now.
Yeah, let's take a follow-up to maybe reach out to some folks at local universities around us and see if we can get somebody to talk to us about maybe that university taking advantage of this program.
Absolutely. Can do.
All right. So this next topic is on every podcast I listen to every morning, talking about how it's going to take over the world or not. And that is AI and the exponential enterprise. Kristen, you want to try to tackle what they tried to bring in front of the group with AI and why it matters and what the impact's going to be?
Absolutely. So as you mentioned, the topic on everybody's mind is AI right now. ServiceNow has been working with AI on their platform for many, many years now. They've had products out in the AI space for several years now. And at this keynote, we saw some really exciting demos where they walked through some of their new generative AI capacity. They've taken a couple different tactics in how they're going to approach that. First and foremost, they're integrating with tool sets that are out there. They've got Azure and OpenAI plugins or connectors, I should say, where they can connect to the APIs that are available and access those tool sets. They've also got inherent AI built into the platform. And they are coming out with generative AI capacity for coding on the ServiceNow platform, which was really, really exciting from a partner standpoint, because that means that when you tie that with that Rise Up program where you've got new talent coming in, they're really going to be able to hit the ground running. So not only do we have summarization, creation of knowledge base articles, but we've also got the actual building of the platform happening in AI coming soon. So that's very exciting stuff. Yeah.
So, Kristen, I'm not going to lie to you. I just had to go Google generative AI because I meant to do it last week just to make sure I 100% knew what that meant. Mm-hmm. Maybe there's somebody listening that doesn't know what that means, which I didn't 100% until a few seconds ago. What really is generative AI and why does it matter?
Oh, sure. So there are different types of AI out there on the market. Certain types are learning based, other types are so there's a few different types on the market. When you hear ChatGPT, and that is, again, the topic that's hot on everybody's mind, that is generative AI. That is where you're dealing with a computer that can mimic human responses. It seems almost like you're conversing with a human. So when you're talking about things like a virtual agent or, again, the knowledge base articles, things that really need to be in a readable format, that's where generative AI can be really, really exciting because it's not quite so robotic. I should say it's very friendly, very user friendly for humans.
And I think that was the big thing for me when McDermott was kind of introducing this and the AI was like, it kind of clicked for me that I've kind of looked at it going, okay, wow, they are trying to make AI take over the world. It's gonna be our next CIOs. It's really not that so much as that it's in the background and it's pulling a lot of information. There's so much information out there. It's actually forming that information very quickly and put it into your hands very quickly, right? In a way to make it apply for exactly what you're looking for. So to understand the human and the contents of the question, the context of the question is what's really important. That's the impressive thing, that it's learning how to pull that context and get the right information for that answer, for that question.
Yeah, but my research was kind of helping me understand it's taking that content in context taking information it has or can get instantly and then generating something as if it was, in case of a chatbot, talking to you as if it didn't know what you were going to say, but understood what you said and then gave you an appropriate response, versus the way Kristen talked about a minute ago, where it was robotic, where it was programmed to say, if they say this keyword, say this back.
Sure.
Now it's more generating a response back based on what you said, how you said it, maybe when you said it. And is that going to change everything and take over the world? No. But is it going to get you maybe 80-90% there? Yeah, very possibly.
Just like a lot of technology, it's a great tool for us to use, right? It's not a replacement, but it's a tool. And it's not 100% yet. It may take some time to get there. Things are speeding up for sure. So it may not take as long as prior technologies, but it's still going to take some time to get fully there.
I think it'll change the adoption rate of tools like this. There's nothing more frustrating than when you get a chat bot that really you're like frustrated because it's not giving you what you want. So I think it will help the adoption of like virtual agent, really that workflow. I think Bill McDermott called it a workflow revolution that's going to happen, a revelation is going to happen. And I think that's why, because I think when it really starts getting in place and it's very valuable, the adoption rate will skyrocket and people will use it and be more productive in what they do.
Well, and I think you guys just said it, but I'm going to call it out here. The title of this is AI and the Exponential Enterprise. I think we've covered it, but let's make sure. Kristen, what do they mean by the exponential enterprise?
Oh, gosh. In my mind, the exponential enterprise speaks to the speed of things that are occurring right now. You look at just the history of technology and the speed at which new technology is coming out and the speed of adoption for that technology it's going on a hockey stick, really. We are seeing things being developed so very quickly, and AI is definitely powering that, especially some of the code generation capabilities, because you can build entirely new tool sets in very little time with developers who don't have as much experience as you used to require. So it really is speeding things up. Yeah.
Well, that's just it, speeding things up, going faster. They made a comment that the speed at which technology is going to change in the next 5 years is going to be faster than it changed in the previous 20 or 30 or 50 years. And we've seen a lot of change. So that's
Absolutely.
almost scary to think, but that's the exponential benefit of AI. I mean, imagine a world where you're chatting with a chatbot and maybe you're getting some, getting some health signals from your, like a monitor or something you got on your body. It could literally come as close to a doctor as, or maybe better in some cases, as diagnosing your issue and you never left your house.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So Fred, give you a chance here to respond to the exponential part of that title. Anything else you would add?
No, I think that was well said. I mean, that's the way I look at it too. It's the speed at which things are coming. It's the speed of information these days that's coming at us. The speed of that information needed in an enterprise and make decisions. I mean, that's just day to day. To me, it's a little still scary of what you said, Andy. I mean, that the change that we already see, and they plan to see a lot more of that over the next 5 years, as opposed to the last 20. Yeah. It's like, wow. So,
well, can you think of a company that's better positioned than ServiceNow based on the platform that they've created through the last 10, 15 years?
I can tell you this, coming back from knowledge and, the whole yes mentality, which you led off this conversation with. I just had a conversation with a customer just then, and they do not have a ServiceNow, was kind of wanting to understand a little bit about it. And I love the fact that they kept asking questions. I just kept saying, yes, yes, we can. Yes, I can. This is how. It is honestly a great unifying platform that you can easily say yes to, because it's there. And if it's not there, we can build it. So we have all those capabilities.
Yeah, you got a platform. All you need is the data and the workflows that are needed to take advantage of that data, and boom. The answer is yes. Maybe next year the message acknowledges yes, of course. Let's see. Okay, so I will do this since we got the document here from Bill McDermott. His statement about exponential enterprise, the way he said it was, this represents the difference between old school linear thinking and a new way of thinking exponentially about innovation. Mm-hmm. That probably sums it up pretty good.
Yeah, it does.
I will also add that I think he said it won't be AI that takes over your life. It'll be that person who knows how to leverage AI that is going to get your job. You got to learn it.
Yeah.
All right, Fred, I'll let you have this one. This one's more on the business side, debunking IT versus business rivalry. As a former CIO within an organization, Fred, business versus the IT needs probably fought at
I
every.
think this is extremely important. Sorry, Andy, I have a little lag there, so I'm sorry I came over top of you, but this is really important. I think we've talked about it through several of these podcasts, is the need to not look at IT as the bad guy and the cost to the business. I mean, we have to look at how IT can help the business units. And I think it was kind of said here with the lady that presented as well. Can't see her name there, sorry. But I know she came from a company and she was saying the same thing. You have to work together to get to the company goals. When everybody's working on their own departmental goals, you really as a company can't get there. And IT is now empowered with ServiceNow and tools like this to give this and reach out to those capabilities and extend that to the business units. ServiceNow in particular, I think, is uniquely positioned because you can have business units with ServiceNow administrators, configurators in there doing workflows that are specific to their business unit and not impacting or hurting IT. It's just an extension of that. So now I think you have an IT organization that can extend out into each business unit with representatives, if you call it that, from IT. Then they really see the value. So I think it really is, not working against IT, working with IT, and it really comes to higher level C levels in the company, and then the business units to understand that, accept that, and start working with them.
Yeah, for me, it until we started talking about this as this part of the podcast, something this amazingly brilliant guy named Trevor Mansell said last week just came full circle to me. I've spent my entire career in enterprise infrastructure, trying to convince IT consumers, aka our users, that what I was doing was adding value to them. And it's a little bit of a stretch. I know it's there, but you have a stretch to get them to understand it's there. But when it comes to this stuff, where you talk about this platform that takes all this data and all this information and allows you to create workflows, and then better yet, you're going back to the previous conversation, using artificial intelligence to get you almost all the way there before you have to even think about what's happening. There's no argument that this is a business enablement part of the industry, not the IT sucking the life out of the business.
Yep. And I think when you see it successfully implemented in a company, you start seeing it really work like wildfire throughout the rest of the company. They see the value and they start looking, and then you can kind of understand the whole concept of ServiceNow as a unifying platform. It starts dipping into each of the business units, or per se each vertical within those business units, and financials and legals and every bit of it to kind of get value out of it.
Yeah, it becomes obvious that it's adding value to the point where you probably at some point won't even realize it's there. It's adding value that you don't even see it because it just becomes natural, becomes expected. Kristen, do you have any examples of where you guys have used ServiceNow and the platform to enable business process that maybe had some naysayers going into it but couldn't live without it now?
Oh gosh, I think every implementation starts that way. I don't think there is an implementation where everybody's on board. You always have at least one or two who are a bit reluctant to change, but ServiceNow tends to win them over pretty quickly, especially when they're able to see how many things they can self-service on the platform and how simple and easy it is to use. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way you said it's right. If you're working in these platforms and these workflows, if you're doing the way you guys were explaining to me the other day, where you're creating this overall epic, and then you're creating stories, these narratives within that epic in order to move the business forward, it should no longer be looked at as a IT versus the business versus IT. It should be IT serving the business through these platforms.
Absolutely. And just to add one extra layer to that, ServiceNow's capabilities to cross departments and business units can also give that visibility layer to this discussion that we really haven't had before. So for the first time in ServiceNow, when you've got SPM that's tracking everything from your goals down to implementation, all the way out to your actual realized cost. You've got financials tracked all the way across. You've got your business services mapped in the platform on ServiceNow CSDM solution. So you can see for this service that I'm offering internally to my business, these are all of the things that play into that. Here are the financials around that. And here's the actual realized benefit to that organization. You can do the same thing on the client side. So you've got your client facing services lined out. You can see all of the IT components that go into that, exactly how they support it, all the financials around that as well. It really is a powerful visualization, because you've got all of this data on a single unified platform. So you really can see all the way across. It's quite powerful.
Yeah, I think I'm confusing last week's conference with the one before, but this statement that I heard in the one before, the week before at a conference I was at, Nutanix.next, you have to be investing in your business, each and every CEO. And I can't think of a better way to do that than implementing a platform that's limitless to what workflows can be enabled going forward. It really takes that IT infrastructure conversation from the week before and then doubles down on it with the idea of this platform as a service offering with workflow capabilities or workflow outcomes. Just really makes it valuable to the business. And if you're not, then you're probably going to lose, because other businesses that do it are going to eventually beat you. So Fred, we talked about what's in the blog here about last week. What other items did you take away that if somebody stopped you on the street and asked you about, you'd want to tell them about last week?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, because one big takeaway for me as I reflected when I left was, and I went around and looked at a lot of different things that were set up for them to kind of show some of the newer things coming to what's there. From my journey with ServiceNow over the last 8 years, what I think they've done really well is these starting to make these centers or more dashboard related to every single thing you should do. So I went to a security one, right? A security center, and it was really internal security around the platform, but it had a nice operational dashboard to it, which allowed you to drill down to the things you needed. But that roll up and those dashboard concepts are so huge in every step of the way, because now it's a great way to start the conversation, to bring up a dashboard where people understand the concept of dashboards and widgets and drill downs. I think it's why ServiceNow is really starting to exponentially take off, because before they didn't really have such a nice roll-up dashboard. You had to create that. And now out of the box, you get these great dashboards that have the information tied together. There's not a lot of work you have to do. So out of the box, I think you can just get the capabilities of Employee Center and Security Center and all these other centers they've created that brings it right to the forefront for you to do your business right away. That's what I took away.
Kristen, how about you?
I'm going to double down on Fred's. Actually, I attended a separate session where they actually showed a new store app, a series of new store apps that go from the CI level dashboarding, where you can at a glance see what's going on in your organization, all the way down to that actual work level where the fulfillment's actually taking place. So I would double down on that. Their reporting and dashboards have really taken a step forward this year. Yeah.
Yep. And do you see the end in sight to that?
I wouldn't expect it. One of my favorite things to say to new clients who are coming on ServiceNow, just to understand the level of innovation there, ServiceNow has an army of developers and they are constantly building on the platform. So I do not see an end in sight. Yeah.
Yep.
Andy, how about you? What did you take? This was your first time there. You kind of new to ServiceNow in a way. I mean, the expo hall was pretty impressive and you can see all the technology coming to work. So what did you take away?
My honest answer is going between the different, the different, what I call workflows. I think I'm using an old term there, different workflows and all the different industry use cases and some of the partners that bolted on to that. It's bigger and there's more potential than I even realized. And I thought it was pretty big going into that.
Awesome.
I think what really got me was going to the different industry booths and seeing them talk about the impact that we're having on individual industries, whether it's manufacturing or healthcare or government. And just within 30 seconds of talking to someone, light bulbs went off around what was possible and who was already doing what.
And I think, Andy, that really speaks to the innovation because, a couple of years ago, it was really more about, say, a module, a module that you had to do something. Maybe it was ticketing or maybe it was basic functions. Now they've taken and elevated these things, I think, a lot with these centers and dashboards to really bring it together, show the specific use cases for a healthcare, a manufacturing. Something new that I know I talked to Kristen, I think, and you have both about more on the procurement side. I've never really thought about how ServiceNow played into procurement. I'm somewhat new to the HR and loving what they do in HR. Procurement could be such a big thing for a company to get procurement tied into the rest of IT because in my past, it's always been so separate. isolated from even some of the financials, and it should not be. It
Well,
should not be.
Well, that's a great example of the business versus IT. Procurement and IT have been in a fight for a long time. Long time. Well, guys, I got a bunch of podcasts to go post. Anything else we want to cover around knowledge?
No, I'm looking forward to next year, and XenTegra is going to represent strong next year. That's all I have to say.
We made a pretty big splash this year, but I can only imagine what's going to be like in the future. Guys, thank you. Thank you for your help there this week or last week. Kristen and the team, you guys worked on an app during the hackathon. I thought it was cool you guys did it. I thought it was really cool how excited you guys were and how much effort you put into it. I don't know. Why don't you tell us real quick what you guys came up with?
Oh, sure. Actually, we have been speaking with a partner nonprofit called IJM, and their goal is to end human trafficking. So we actually built during the hackathon, you get about 8 hours where you can build and code and build a solution on top of ServiceNow, but you only get the 8 hours. So we focused on building a web-based portal where individuals who could report anything that they saw, anything questionable, suspect, get connected with local authorities. There was reporting on that, tracking through the life cycle of an individual who might have been caught up in something like that. So yeah, it was great to work with our partner on that one.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, it sounds like something that's necessary and needed. I bet we could probably take that to market pretty quick. Something similar.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, thank you again. Last week was fun, and excited to do it again in 12 months or sooner in other areas.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
All right. Hey, you know what? As I'm saying that out loud, I'm thinking to myself, we probably should come up with some kind of post-knowledge roadshow of our own. I don't know, Fred, yet another thing, but it would be great if we could do it.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. See you. Thank you.
Thank you. See you.